Hey, it's Mack with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and it's Friday. It's May the 9th. This will be our chart lesson for today, and this is going to wrap up the week. I meant to have this done around lunchtime. Last trade I marked was just into the 11 o'clock hour, and that kind of took us into lunchtime, and we really um, hadn't had much going on. I mean, there's a nice move down if you were still trading, but the last one I marked was just going into lunch. And there were plenty of entries here. I got a couple of emails where people found it hard to find entries today. Uh, but if you missed this bigger channel, if you saw the channel, it was fairly straightforward. If you didn't find the channel, it might have been a little harder. And it does look like a trading range day, and it probably is. I'm guessing we're going to probably make another high from here, though. We'll just have to see. It started off looking rangy, but notice how we're making lower highs here each time we came up. That's telling you something. That's telling you, so kind of look for a downtrend. And you can see we had that with the midline in here. Then we broke the upper side of the trend line. We moved, made a new low by a single tick twice, and then we reversed. We got a break of this channel right here. And it could be that this is a little steeper and I don't have it drawn. There's a possibility that this one's just a little steeper here. Maybe like that right there. Maybe that's the break in the new high and then the sell off. But we're trying to make a new high here yet. So it may be that there's both of these in here. Originally I was looking at it like this steeper channel. But I believe there's this channel too. It definitely seems to be holding prices. So I think this is probably more of the temporary one on the way up here. Let's just see how it fits on the other side. It fits really well. So I think you got a shorter term channel up in there and then your bigger one. It looks like we're trying to make a retest now. We'll see if we can get back above the highs of what looked like the top of the trading range. We'll just have to see. But you could have traded this either way, but if you saw the downward channel, it helps tremendously. And it also gives you multiple reasons to enter some of these and reasons maybe not to enter some of them. So, but let's talk about the trades I saw. There's a lot of trades. Several of them I marked are kind of aggressive. But if you realize what's going on, maybe you still want to take them. And you can see we're still heading higher here. So anyway, let's talk about the trades. And let me back out a little bit here. Let's talk about the trades and then we'll, go from there. But even though we were in what looked like a trading range when I came in, prices were kind of right in here bouncing. And but you didn't have any break of this trend line till here, and that's the first new low. And you might have thought about going short there. I really probably should make that one green, but I'll be honest with you, when you get a double bottom from the overnight and you're that close, you just about have to use a limit order, and you wouldn't have got filled far enough in this to get out. So I just think it was real risky. But you see, it would have worked easily, but I think it's a little risky, so I'll leave it green right there. And then you make your new low, and then you reverse. And generally, when you break below a low like that, it's going to snap back. It's at least back to the EMA, and so there's enough room to get out there before you get back to that EMA, especially if you use a limit order. So some aggressive traders are going to take that. I like that trade, just be honest with you. So I think you got to mark it at least green, and then you get a second entry long. But again, it's not a great setup. But when it came back inside here and turned out and bounced and went up and went out the other side, just put a stop there. At least wait on it to break and try to get a limit order. This moved pretty quick, so I doubt you got a limit order much more than the same as the stop, and this thing just took on up. And of course, it makes a lower high right here, and you do have a little break of this trend line here. If you're drawing it off those first closes, and first I thought, well, maybe there's a bigger range, and there could be here. It could be that it's like this right here, because that still works. Let me just see how it fits on the other side. You get an overshoot there. That still works, and you still get an attempt at a retest, but you can see this is coming into play, this line right here, this trend line, and it keeps prices down and turns down. So I liked going short right there. You really could have, aggressive trader probably would have went short below the little doji right there. Let me move this. But when prices broke lower and turned back up and then turned back down, that's like a breakout pullback. A trading range, I mean, a doji like that is just a one bar trading range. And so there's your little breakout and your snapback, and then like a second entry short almost right there. And that is two attempts to break above this point in that line that hold. And you know what that means. We're probably going the other way. So you could have used a limit order or a stop right there, but at the very least, you probably wanted to at least put a stop right here. Okay, I had a slight interruption there. We were talking about this trade. But yeah, you could have gone short right there with the limit order, but when it turned back up and then turned down, that's a very bearish bar right there. Open, closed. I mean, it opened, traded higher, and then turned down and closed on its low. And if you didn't put a stop there pretty quick, you didn't get in that trade because it moved fast. They trapped people right there. People were looking at more of a range and they thought there was going to be room to go higher. And my guess is all these people that got long had to exit here. So somewhat of a trap. It fooled people. And you can see everybody started running for the door. And I just don't really see any way. You might have thought about going short here. I just don't see any other way to exit this trade or to enter this trade on the way down here. Maybe right here. And even right here, you're going short right at the low of the day. So you might have thought about right there. I think it's risky. You did get a break here, and you got a little bit of room if you use a limit order, but it's still so close to the low. I just don't recommend. The entry is here, and maybe here. But by the time you get down here, but I did draw this one in green. If you saw it and took it, it worked. But it's so close to the low, and these are like overnight lows. And this actually was the overnight low. I can't remember where 830 was. It's on the way down here somewhere. Actually, the 830 open was right here. So you're definitely, each one of these is making a new low for the day, and those get risky. But this is a fairly bearish move. So maybe you want to enter one of those, and I'll go back just in case right there. You might want to enter right there if you missed this one. But I still think I just think it's risky. I mean, that really confirmed the trend line right there because you got a couple of closes and that really confirmed it. So you might have entered there, but I was looking at this as the low of the range early on. So that made me a little bit leery of that, and it's trying to bounce there. So just keep that in mind. I just think that's real risky. I even almost want to take the green off of it, but I'll leave it there for now. And then, of course, you get a measured move down. If you measure these two, it's a perfect move, and it bounces right there. I don't think you can go long here yet. You got to wait on the second entry, which comes right here. But even then, I still think it's risky because it's a little bit too early. It doesn't look like a reversal yet. You might get a trap and another leg down. You don't want to go short right there, but you just don't want to go long yet. But then when it turns down again and you have that failed second entry short, then I think it's probably okay to go long right there because that also bounces right off that trend line. Notice that. And you're looking for prices to come back up to here. And with a trap, you figure you may come all the way to here or even back to here. And it doesn't quite get a scalp. You could have used a limit order, but a lot of times you'll get left on those. But when it came back again and turned up, there's a chance to add on, or if you didn't enter here on the trap, to enter, because now you can see it's working, and then it turns out to be. And this one, even if you use the stop above this bar right here, I don't think you want to wait and go long up here. It broke lower first, and when it went out the top, you have to go long right there, because there's not a whole lot of room if you wait up here and you've got two legs up almost. So I wanted to make sure I talked about that, because sometimes I don't give enough details on why you might or might not. I you know, it comes so natural that I don't think about it a lot, and sometimes I forget to just give you some more details. And I see that when people ask comments or ask for more details. So I'm going to try to give you as many details as I can, but sometimes I overlook it. If I do, just ask the question. So, but now you got to go long right there, and notice this. You got to move up, and then you move down, and then it's turning back up. So I like that setup right there. And then you get the same thing, but when this one, you might have got trapped right here. This is one where if you're going to enter, you got to think about a limit order. And when it went on down here and then came back and closed inside, uh, I'd be exiting this thing pretty quick, especially when that broke higher and turned down again, because that is a second entry long. Um, this one is a first entry, and it's really, it looks really bullish. It's like a nice reversal bar, but they just trap people. It's just not good to go long right there that close to that high. And that's why I always tell you that if there's not enough room to scalp out, you got to be real careful. And when I say scalp out, I mean before the next high. And this range is real clear here now, and you can see you're almost to the high. Doesn't mean that it won't go higher, but I just don't think you can risk it being that close to that channel, to the upper part of the channel, because there's too big a chance it's going to touch it and turn down. You got to get in lower, in other words, is the key to this. So you have to use a limit order and try to get in way down here, or you got to skip this trade. And if you did use a limit order and get in way down here, when it broke lower and came back and still couldn't go much higher, I would have been exiting that if I did get trapped there. But then you get a failed second entry long. So I think you can consider taking that short right there. You've got your new high and you tried to go higher twice, and that generally leads to a move in the other direction. And again, I probably would have used the limit order here because this didn't close real bearish, and it almost looks like a trading range. So I really went back and forth about that one. I only marked it because it was a trap. But looking at it, you know, after the fact, it looks really aggressive based on the type of bar it is. So it almost looks like a trading range looking back at it. So I think what I'm going to do is go ahead and mark all this in lavender and just say, you know, it's really risky entering in there. You definitely got to be careful going long. And you've already had a break of this little channel and a new low, but the overall trend is down. And so you got to be real careful about going short as well. So it's a combination of things there. But there is a long trap and the bias is still down. So if you're going to enter here, the bet is to enter short, because if this was going to reverse, it should have kept on going and done more than it did here. Notice that. That's important too. We're really just inside this lower setup here, and so that made me real nervous about going short again anywhere until you got up here and you got a second entry, and that didn't come to a right here. So, but let's talk about this trade first. When we bounced, I don't think you can go long on that first entry right there, counting off that low, because that's just the first test of it. But then you come back with a third and you get that confirmation and it turns higher. And again, it doesn't quite close on its high, but it broke lower first and then broke higher. So you could have had your stop sitting there, or when it broke higher, just drop you a limit order, or either wait on this one to break higher and then maybe drop a limit order. And but this one takes off pretty quickly and it's moving now. And you get your new high. You got the break here. You move to a new high. You get a double top, but you got the downward channel, and so now you're going to look for this retest for a new low, and again it makes a new low by one single tick and reversed, and you can see we're just finding resistance right there at the top of the channel again. So but anyway, we started higher, and this is the first break of this line here, right in here, and we never, so I just think, you know, you really don't get a chance to go short till right here, and then you got a channel moving up, Again, the reason I didn't like this one is you're back in the middle of the bigger possible range, and plus, anytime you get and you're way away from the EMA, so you want to wait on a correction. Somebody else asked me about this trade, and I'll put his chart up here in a minute. But that's the reason I don't think you can take that one. It's kind of the middle of no man's land. If you did go long, I don't think it worked regardless. 68 and a quarter. It was a 4-tick failure unless you got a limit order, and I know that didn't happen because there's no overlap right there. So, and remember me talking about that yesterday or the day before, how prices will jump over a lot of times these support and resistance areas, and that's another clue that you got that line right, because it just kind of it just kind of jumps over it right there. It opens on one side and then opens back, or closes on one side and opens on the other. And so that's telling you something that you probably got that right. And then I like this one because this was what I was seeing as the trend line. I wasn't too sure about this one yet. I was looking at this one, and you get two legs back. It's aggressive because it's not a real good signal bar, but let me show you this, because the other trader that I'm going to put his chart up, he didn't really understand what I was trying to tell him here, but there's a two-legged move back here. And you'll hear me talk about this from time to time, but notice the new high, prices come back, they go higher again, and then they turn back. That's two legs back, and the leg is just simply one move before you get a correction. This is a leg up, and a correction, and then another leg up. So just to clarify what legs are, because sometimes I forget people don't understand the lingo either if they're fairly new to trading. So there's a move down or a leg down, a move up or a leg up, and then a second move down. And the market moves in two. So you got your two legs back. You're probably going to go higher and try to test this. Just use the limit order here. It is a little aggressive, but if you went to a smaller chart, you'd clearly see a two-legged pullback, and this would be a second entry long. So that's why I say that. There's a hidden two legs back right there. And it's also kind of a breakout pullback long from this little area, these two highs right here and here. If you move your line up, you'll see that. You can see we broke higher, so it's a little breakout pullback long as well. And then we tried to go lower again, and you get a second entry, and this really confirmed that trend line, and this bounces off that trend line, off the EMA, plus off of this support resistance line. There's about 3 different forms of resistance right there, and look at that reversal bar. Just put a stop right there, and you figure now you're going to try to go back to the last highs. And off it goes. It actually goes on through right there. So, and that was the last trade I marked. I don't see anything in here that you want to take. Hopefully you know not to take that second entry right there. Notice the new high first entry, and you're coming down to second entry. You don't want to take that trade right there because you just failed out the top of a possible trading range. Look how bearish this is. There's no break of this little trend line yet. We got some pushes outside, but there's no close of it. In fact, you don't get a close here and a new low until right here. And so now you're working out the other way. So that's what you have to wait on, and that's what will keep you from getting fooled sometimes. Make sure you draw these short-term trend lines. And now we probably got one working right up through here like so. See how that fits over here. Maybe it's a little steeper than that. I don't quite like that fit. So it's probably more like that right there. I like that because that's really the close on the lowest point of the close is right there. Even though you got a low point right there, it's not a close. So generally you're going to use your closes on these little short-term ones. So I like the way that looks right there, and see what happens. You may get a failed second entry short here and a chance to go long, but again, I'd be real careful because of that resistance right there. and it's late in the day. So, but that's what I saw. Let me put a couple of charts up here I wanted to show. Let me find it. I'm gonna pause it just a second. Okay, here's this trader's chart right here. And this is what he was asking me about, whether this was a good long right here. And you can see that there's a move down, a move up, another move down, and then it goes higher. So that's a second entry long right there. His looks a little different than mine. He doesn't have the trend line on here. And I don't know what all these lines are unless maybe he's got the envelope on here, or he just got more additional EMAs. The 21 EMA is the one we're most interested in, the one I'm most interested in anyway. So, but there are two legs there, and this area right here is simply this area right here on my chart. And it looks, I guess it does look similar on my chart, but you can see it's right off the 21 bar EMA. And that's what I'm always telling people. Your best entries are going to be off the support and resistance, which is either the EMA, the trend line, or when they're both, that's really great, or the horizontal support and resistance. So this trade right here, it had the EMA behind it, it had the trend line behind it, and it had the midline of the, or it had the support resistance, which turns out to be the midline between the two ranges today. So lots of reasons to, that's going to protect your stop, and great place to get long at. So I hope that's clear. And let's see, there was something else I wanted to show. This trader sent me an email and said that he just had a hard time finding any trades. And he sees the range with the midline in here, pretty much exactly what I saw. I think he did tell me, I asked him, I said, maybe because you missed the channel, and if you don't have the channel, then it definitely is harder. But he's got most of these short-term ones down here right. His thinking is right here. He saw that there was too much overlap to go long right there. If he was looking to go long, maybe he was looking to go short there. I guess he ended up putting this down, but it might have been after the price action. Here he was looking to go long, so he saw a good one. He passed on that one, though, because it's too close to the channel. Bad signal bar. Yeah, on these kind of traps like this, you're not always, even though you've only got one tick, that could have easily closed up as it did down, and that would have been a beautiful looking reversal bar. See why he passed that one. But if he'd had this line on there, he'd have seen that was right at that line too. Past middle of the range. Now you don't necessarily want to go long there, because I think this one's more coming this way, and it is in the middle. You definitely don't want to go long right there, I don't think so. Yeah, that's on that big channel coming down, so you definitely, his looks better than mine for whatever reason. That was the second entry long that fails and turns into a great trap. So, and you still got room to get out. So, and you can see that's the one I marked right here, I guess. So that's the move up. It doesn't look near as nice on my chart as it did his. But that's that failed second entry long. You can count the double top as either high here or here, but you don't count that first entry, pull back second entry, it fails. And you don't want to be going long there because you're still in your channel. So he doesn't have that one drawn. He drew the shorter term one, but there's a bigger channel there. So, okay, had a little interruption, but yeah, there's a bigger channel here. This is not necessarily wrong, but then you get two legs down. But I think there's a bigger channel there. Shorter term, you were looking at it right, but there's something a little big. There's a little bigger, more like this channel right here. So, but the gist of it was, he said he had a hard time finding the trades, and he's reading it pretty well here. So, my suggestion to this trader is that he would just maybe being what happens to most of us as traders, same thing happens to me and everybody else that trades, is your mind plays tricks on you. And some people are are trigger happy. They want to shoot everything that comes by. In other words, every time they think they see a setup, they just want to continually enter, and they over trade and they enter too much. And then you get other traders that are too conservative, and they're always waiting on a better setup, and they miss all the good easy ones. So regardless of which one of those problems you have, you're probably going to fight one of them one way or another. So it's a mental issue, and you've got to work through it. You've got to force yourself to take the trades. And that's why we sim trade, to prove to ourselves this stuff works. So if you're having trouble, make sure you're on the simulator and take every trade you see, because this gentleman is reading this pretty well. The only one I see here that I disagree, that I probably would have taken um, or would not have taken, was maybe this long right here, based on the way he's reading it, because you got a little channel. I go back and look at my chart, and you can see this is where he was talking about going long, and that was really just a retest of this channel. So you don't want to, I guess you could have gone long there. I didn't like the setup, and plus I was thinking more of this downward channel, because you could get this one off the low side fairly easily right here, and you can see that. So that was the only reason I didn't like going long. But looking back at this, it was a bounce off the low point, and you are looking for a possible retest. So yeah, maybe you would go long. Maybe you would consider going long there. It is a second entry long. So I'm going to retract that statement and say he sees all these trades. He's just not taking them. This is the only one I do disagree with. I don't think you would want to go long right here, because you got a channel working down and you don't really have that one on here. And I think you'd be taking a little risky. This is a downtrend. We're making lower highs and lower lows from this double top right here. So it is two legs down. So, but other than that, so I could see why, the way he's looking at it, he might have thought about going long there, but there's no reason to go long on that one. So, but other than that, I think he's pointed it out. I mean, I think he was reading it properly. So you just have to force yourself to take those trades, I guess, is the point I'm trying to make. So, and then one other quick chart here. This another trader sent me theirs, and they're with the same identical comment. You can see their chart looks very similar to the last one. They did see this channel right here, but they had the same comment. They didn't see it very good today. They couldn't tell what to take, but she's, from what I can see right here, she's seeing it well. She's reading it well. I mean, she's seeing the channels and the moves properly. So not bad at all, really. But evidently, I know a lot of people struggle on these choppy range, and the key that it's kind of a trading range day is prices are swinging both sides of the EMA fairly consistently, and that's generally a good sign that it's a trading range day. But there's some nice moves in here all the same. So, but anyway, I'm going to wrap it up. I'm going to start my weekend. Hope you have a great weekend. We'll be back to do it on Monday. But I'm done for now. This is Mack with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and we'll see you next time.